This is a perfect project to go with all of my other sew and sell videos. I think that this is going to be the absolute perfect professional looking receiving blanket to add dollars to your sales. Stay to the end and I'll give you, some rough estimates of what I think you could be making on these receiving blankets. Enough talking already. Let's get busy. For this particular receiving blanket, we're just going to use one piece of flannel. I had the store cut this fabric 1 yard. So 1 yard is, along the selvage here, and that's about 36 inches. And then along here, along the width of fabric, or rather the part that the worker cuts at the store, that is about 42 to 43 inches along here. I find that this size is going to be perfect for any new baby. Now, typically, honestly, I've never found that you need to pre-wash flannel ever, but since I'm going to gift this right away, I pre-wash this fabric, then I'm going to make it and I'm going to go ahead and give it away. I feel comfortable at that point giving away an item that's for a baby that's been pre-washed. Now, when I make my quilts for my babies, I never pre-wash. I just go ahead, make the quilt as is, and then I wash it, and then I gift it. Right now, this is roughly 36 by 43-ish, inches with the selvage involved. So I'm just going to show you how I would do it in the wild. How I make these corners right here nice and square, cutting off all the selvage, and after it's been washed, all that, raw edge and stuff. It's probably not your typical way on how you would make things square. Just hear me out, friends. I am going to take and put selvage to selvage. So wrong sides to wrong sides, or you could do it the other way, right sides to right sides, because we're just cutting at this point. We're not sewing anything. Line them up best that you can, and then come over here and make sure that you have a nice crease along here and that nothing is all balled up or there's no creases and whatnot. And with your hand, you're just going to spread everything out while it's folded, just like that. And you can see here, all my edges, they're lined up pretty good, because after you wash things, they get really wonky. And especially here where the worker cuts it, that's always wonky. So next I'm going to bring this up over to meet this area, keeping things nice and flat. Now, I typically would not cut a big quilt like this because I just wouldn't, but a receiving blanket, no worries. Put your hand in here and kind of follow your hand along the crease here that everything is laying nice and flat. Make sure that this edge is lined up right here. Everything is just so, right? It's lined up best that it can be. And then give it a good press out with your hands, feeling for any ripples. You may even want to flip it over. Give it just a nice, press out with your fingers. And I can already see that this one is over, but it matches up here. So yeah, that's okay. And then I'm going to line it up on my mat here, along here. This is the folded area. So these two, there's a couple layers you can see there. This edge right here is fully folded. There's no edges to open up at all. So that is the line that we want to take note on our table. We want that to line up perfectly along one of the lines on our mat. You want to line this side up too, along a line right here. So this is giving me a nice square edge right along here. Now I'm going to flip this because I want my ruler on this side and my rotary cutter on this side. So flip it around and make the corner over here. I have a nice square right there. So these I'm not worried about right now. I'm just looking at this squared up edge. Next, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to lay it down on my table, and I'm going to come in to cut that selvage off. So you're going to find a line on your mat and then along your ruler here, line everything up. Make sure that you have a nice line down here along that folded edge, and then along the edge on your ruler. I'm looking right here. I can see I have a nice Is this upside down? It is. Almond edge. Okay, that was upside down. I knew something was wrong. Okay, try again. Take two. I'm lining up along here on my folded edge. You always want to cut fabric from the side with your folded edge towards you, not away from you. That'll mess you up. So keep that in mind. And once you have all of your lines are nice, you're looking on your mat and, you know, as opposed to your ruler, then you're going to take your cutter and slice that selvage off. Now we're going to take and just flip this so that these two folded edges are now toward us. And since we're done with this folded area, that cut, now we need to concentrate over here. This is also the easiest way that I have found when you have limited space on how to cut your stuff. So I'm going to line this up squarely here. Once you think you have it, then come in with your ruler. And you can check here too. You may have to come in quite a bit depending on where, you know, some of them lower layers lay. So this one's way in here. So I know I'm going to have to come in on this half mark here on my mat. Once you have it, go ahead and slice. Now the cutting isn't over just yet. So when I open this up, all of those edges are nicely cut and everything is, you know, somewhat squared up. But I'm going to go through and I'm just going to check it. So I'm going to take this ruler and set it on one corner. And I'm going to push it all the way to the edge to see what's messing that area up. And I can see there's probably like 1/8 of an inch here. So I'm just going to slice this. And that's going to square that corner up. That's going to help us when we go to miter our corners up. So let's see, this is the second corner. Let's line this up. 1/8 of an inch that, you know, slides up a little bit. So we're going to get rid of that right now. Tiny bit right on this side. So now we have a perfectly squared up piece of flannel. Let's take a look and see what we have left after everything was cut. So we're looking at approximately 41 1/4 by 35 inches. This is going to be a really nice size receiving blanket. The next thing you're going to do is take your piece of flannel over to your ironing station, and then you're going to press a memory crease, so to speak, into your flannel receiving blanket. This is the step where you would customize the size width of hem that you would like on your receiving blanket. The only thing you have to remember is wherever you fold it now for your memory crease, you're also going to fold that in half again. And that will be the actual size of that hem all the way around this flannel receiving blanket. Believe it or not, I found this little tool right here at the Goodwill. And what it is an easy hem tool. It's made of metal, so it's not going to burn or melt like a plastic roller would. And I've taken a pencil and put a 2-inch line all the way across here, so that way it helps me, you know, better make this hem. You know, they have the curved lines here if you're going to do dresses and such, probably, or skirts or anything that's curved. But I need a straight line, so I'm going to just shove this in here and find my 2 inches on my metal ruler. Kind of give it a little shove here so that, you know, it's right on the line there. And be careful not to stretch your fabric because remember, flannel is looser and it does have a little bit more of a stretch to it. And then you're just going to come in with your Laura Star if you have it. And if you don't, be sure to check my link down below in the description box. This iron is serving me so well. Once you put a press in something, it's there. It's not gonna, you know, loosen up over time. So if I hold this and then I pull this out, I have a nice crease there. But I'm gonna go ahead once I pull it out and I'm going to then get that bottom layer hot. And you can see there the nice crease that does give. And that's not going anywhere unless I try to iron it out, right? So So let me show you what you're going to do once you get to the corner. So this is what you're going to do when it comes to the corner and memory creasing it. Once you fold this up, bring in your ruler. And this is another good reason to use a metal ruler like this, because now when I press this, I'm not going to press this crease out over here that's underneath the metal, but I am going to press this crease right there, and I'll show you that here in a sec. So I'm just, be sure not to stretch. Don't stretch your fabric up. So you see I'm going over that press. And if I were to leave that Laura Star crease long enough, it would be harder to get out, trust me. Now I'm going to grab this and go like that, pull it out. Now this crease was kind of, let out, so to speak, but it's still there, you can kind of see it. And then there's that one. So now it was open, we did our crease on this side. Now we're going to take and fold this over onto itself. So each corner should look like this before you go to the next step. It's folded on top of one another, but it's not going to stay like that because we want a mitered corner, remember. The next step, after you have these sides all folded in my case, I folded in 2 inches. Now I'm going to take the edge, the raw edge of the fabric, and I'm going to meet it up with the crease mark that I just made. That essentially just cuts that width in half. So when you get to the corner here, that side will be met up with that crease, the memory crease that you just made. Fold this over, just like you did when it was wider, but now it's half that size. You're going to fold it over just like you did, and then put a press in that. And you're going to do this to all 4 sides of the receiving blanket. You can see all of those pre-creases in there. So that's what that looks like when it's only folded over one time. In the end, we are going to take this and it'll look like that along all of the sides. Okay friends, this is how you're going to miter this corner. You should have this folded in one time. Now this width is only half of what you initially folded it. I folded it up first 2 inches, then I folded it in half, which now makes it 1 inch here. And then your sides are just folded in like so. The next thing you need is a ruler with a 45-degree mark on it. I have a 45-degree line there, and I have a 45-degree line right there. I'm going to take the edge of the folded side right here, either side, it doesn't matter which one, and here's my 45-degree line right there. I'm going to line that 45-degree mark up right along here, right along the edge of that folded fabric. And here I can barely see the tip of that fabric coming out. Let me pop a paper under here just so you can see it a little better. So here's my 45-degree line here on the side, and I am butting it up right on top of the fold of that hem that we folded one time over so far. There's barely any sticking out right there. Here's where your calculations come into play. If I initially folded that up 2 inches, that's the cut I'm going to make right now, even though it's folded up one time. If you folded it up 1 inch and then folded it in a ½ an inch, your cut would be 1 inch. So here's how we figure out the cut. As long as we have our 45-degree line here on our fold, we're then going to lift this up, but we're keeping that line right on the fold, no matter how far we lift up. But we need to, of course, lift it up to the right calculations, which is going to be 2 inches in my case, because that was that first fold I made. So you can see here where it's at the tip. So this is the 2 inches right here, the space that I need to maintain while lifting this up. So I'm going to lift up and lift up. I'm going to keep lifting up till that 2 inches is on the side of this fold. So keep going, and stop. And make sure you're all lined up. This is your guide, your 45, so you always want to keep it there. And then we wanted a 2-inch cut, so you can see here, from this side to this side is 2 inches in width this way. And so that is what you want to cut. We want to slice this off right there. So let me get this paper out of the way and I'll slice that and show you what that looks like. And you can line it up on either side and count the 2 inches on either side. So we're going to take that out like that, and let's see what we have left. You should have a funny looking piece that kind of looks like that, you know, a couple straight sides and then a couple points. And then when I take the ruler off, I'm going to open this up, and then I should have like a little loose, little tiny triangle piece like that. So you should end up with Batman ears, just like that. That's how you know you got it right. If I were to take and measure this right here, boom, 2 inches. That's how wide that is. You want to do this to all 4 corners. The next thing you're going to do after you get all 4 corners cut is you're going to take and pinch this together, line right sides together so that they match up perfectly. And I'm going to pop a pin down here and see how that lines up. Everything is perfect all the way to the point. And over here. Now you want to think to yourself, which way is this going to be going into my sewing machine? And I know the point goes in first. Because the point is cut on the bias, you always want to put the point in first. Any bias side, you always want to put in first. So it grabs all of these unsteady threads, so to speak. Before I take it over to the sewing machine, I'm going to mark my 1/4 inch in here because I don't want room for error. This is going to be a very precise corner. As easy as this corner is, you want it to be precise. So I'm going to measure over a 1/4 inch and I'm going to draw a line right there. Come over here and draw a line from the other edge. Mark all 4 corners just like that, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine. See the line right there for the 1/4 inch. I'm going to go ahead and slide the point in first. So right on top of that line. I'm going to come in a bit though. I'm not going to start at the very edge because I don't, you know, want anything to happen to the edge of that fabric just yet. So I'm just going to drop my needle, sew a couple stitches, and then I'm going to back stitch a couple stitches, and that's locked in. And then I'm just going to continue sewing right precisely on that line that I just put on there and marked. When I get to that intersection there where it turns in the corner, I'm going to lift my presser foot and pivot my fabric underneath my needle, lift my presser foot up, of course, and then I'm just going to follow along the line. And when I get to the edge, I'm going to back stitch. It should look like that. I don't know if you can see the stitches on there or not, but that's what it should look like. Then what you're going to do is come in here and snip those points off. Come over here and at an angle without snipping those threads, you're, you know, getting the bulk out. And then I'm going to come in and I'm even going to take a little bit more bulk out of there, just like that. Hopefully you can see that. And then I'm going to snip right here. But I'm not going to snip all the way where I'm going to clip my threads. I'm just putting a little, you know, slice in there so that everything lays flat. And then I'm going to take it over and press that little seam open right there. And I'm going to press this little seam open. There'll just be 2 tiny seams that need to be pressed open. So once you've taken and pressed those little seams open, it should look just like that, like, you know, 2 little wings flying away. You're then going to pop this corner in. So you're going to take this with your thumb and your finger over here on this side, and you're just going to push that out, that corner. You can get a pokey tool, something like that, that has a corner, a blunt corner on it. You know, you don't want to really put scissors or anything in there because she will poke right through, right? And you want to get that nice and pointy right there. Then you want to take this right here, that one of the wings, you know, that's sticking out right there, and you're going to want to take that corner and shove it so that it is really snug up in this corner right here. So I'm just going to take this piece and I'm just going to shove it in here like that, and I'm going to grab my pokey tool. You can see it's in there like that. I'm going to press that until that is nice and snug up in that corner. Take this side here, fold it back over into that pre-crease position, remember, and then that side. Is that a beautiful corner? Or is that a beautiful corner, right? Oh my word, it's absolutely perfect every single time. Next, just go ahead and pin that flap, that hem that you did, all the way around the entire receiving blanket. We are going to sew just on the inside of this edge right here to tack that down. And I actually come out and do another tacking all along the outside edge as well. But you can do, you know, whatever you like to do here. So I'm just coming in just on the inside and back stitch. Pivot at the corners. As you're sewing this fabric, it does have a tendency to bow out right here at this edge. So it has a tendency to roll its way and make its way out this way. So you really do want to pin it and keep that, you know, shoved up there really good so that that doesn't budge. Once you get this stitch done on this side, then you're going to flip it over and you're going to sew the outer edge if that's what you choose to do, and I choose to do that. I'm going to start though not right on the corner because I think sometimes, you know, you don't want to do that because that makes it too noticeable. You're going to just right on the edge, right on the inside edge, back stitch. I think this would be a perfect item to sell if you already have like a little, you know, sewing business on the side where you could make some money. Like you could make money at craft fairs and flea markets, and sometimes where there's vegetable stands, you know, they'll have like a whole day where the vegetable vendors will be there and they'll ask other vendors in the community to come. Those are really good times to try and sell what you have for sale that you've been making. Now, when it comes to these receiving blankets, they are very inexpensive to make. Think about all the times that you see stores cut their flannel prices in half and then some, right? I mean, we can get this stuff for down to $2, $3 a yard, and it's not bad flannel at all. Most of it's really, really good. And then you have the time that it takes to make this. So say you can get this flannel for $2, $3 a yard, which is a really good deal, which I've seen it at. Your cost, 1 yard, $2, $3. Your time, maybe a half an hour once you get going on it. I mean, you know, it's a no-brainer for me. You could totally sell this for probably $15, $14.99, and you could personalize it somehow. You could, you know, have it the style of their nursery, their favorite color, or whatnot. So to go along with the theme of my diamond quilt that I made for my granddaughter, I then have this really fun, you know, matching sort of receiving blanket to go along with it, which makes for a really good presentation when you're trying to sell things together. But if you're just selling the receiving blanket, I totally think you can make some cash on that. You can see here I've also added my logo right on the side so everyone knows where this receiving blanket came from. I hope this helps you to add just one more item to that selling list. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.